I'm going to sneeze in a minute. So yes, good morning. It is that time of the week again. It is my late shift at work, so it's time to get out for a morning run. And as you can see by the stain marks, it's time to do another run and another workout reviewing fragrances. So what are we doing today? Well, we're doing another face-off. We're looking at clones again today. Obviously, I've done a lot of reviews on clones lately, and I kind of just wanted to wrap it all up essentially with this today because I've got loads of clone houses, loads of different clone houses. There's plenty of clone fragrances out there, whether they're a clone brand or not. Many fragrances try and be inspired by other brands to obviously make more money. But clone fragrances, they're a big deal. They are a big deal, and there are brands that do just focus on that. And I've got three today, so I've just sprayed three fragrances on me. Essentially, they're three well-known clone brands, and I kind of want to pick which one is the ultimate best today. So not the brand specifically, because I've looked at the best brands in particular before. I want to pick their best one from their line and rank it on my usual 5 categories. So if you haven't seen my fitness fragrance reviews or fitness fragrance face-offs, I rank the fragrances on 5 categories. We look at price/value for money, versatility is how much you can use them in different situations. We'll also talk today about its projections, how much I noticed on my run. We'll talk about its compliment factor, which one do I think is the best for getting compliments out of the ones I've picked, and also its longevity, which one lasts essentially my whole workout. And then when I get back from my run, I'll pick an overall winner. So what I'm going to quickly do, just going to go through the contenders today. Won't do a full note breakdown, just essentially a little bit about them, their general overall scent vibe, and yeah, just tell you where they've come from, what they are cloning. Okay, so the first one I sprayed today was this one from Noted Aromas. It's called Jakarta. I don't know why they've called it this. I've got no idea. There should be a reason for these. I'm sure there must be a little bit more to it than that. But this one is a clone of Tom Ford's Grey Vetiver. Really like Grey Vetiver. Again, not a fragrance many people talk about. Obviously, their private blend is a more popular line of fragrances like Tobacco Vanille, super popular fragrances, and they just got a slightly different shaped bottle. But Grey Vetiver is lovely. It's this lovely, soapy, clean vetiver. So it's really got this clean, gentlemanly, timeless vibe, but it's very soapy. Not this dark, smoky vetiver that you sometimes get that can be quite dry. I'm not as big a fan of that one. This one, though, very clean, very sophisticated. And I've had the original, this is the clone. It is a brilliant clone of it. Honestly, I'd never get the original again just because this one is so good. Then the second one I sprayed, this one's from Devane. This is a Spanish company. This is a clone of Acqua di Parma's Sakura. So, been a little bit hit and miss. I've had Dasamato Baronda from this house. I've had Baccarat Rouge. Not the strongest performers, those, but again, the smell's okay on them, but they do smell a little bit more synthetic. This one, again, it's not a real well-known fragrance, Acqua di Parma Sakura. So for someone to actually clone this, for a brand to actually clone this, fair play to them, and they've done a really good job. And again, Acqua di Parma don't tend to be the strongest fragrances. Look at more eau de cologne, so sort of lighter concentrations. This one does really well. It's got this kind of cherry blossom, and it's just clean again, clean, sophisticated, refined, and it just really fits that Acqua di Parma DNA. So yeah, if you like those sort of light florals, sort of that pink pepper, cherry blossom type smell, that's a really good one to go for. Definitely a bit of musk in there as well. And then the last one, recently did a review on this one, the Essence Vault 444, the most memorable names they always have. This one is a clone of Tom Ford's Lost Cherry, and again, a little bit like I was saying earlier, private blend from Tom Ford, super popular. This is a great representation of that. It's like a cherry liqueur, so if you know that cherry liqueur vibe, that's what this is. It's not that real fruity type fragrance. You get a bit of almond, that marzipan type vibe. I'm just going to spray a little bit more just to remind myself. Yeah, and certainly one you can dress up as well, which we will touch on a little bit later on. So what I'm going to do today, because obviously I'm not going to the gym and doing a full sort of review like I'd normally do, I'm going to try and do all the categories today during my workout, and then when we get back, we'll talk about longevity and then pick our overall winner. So yeah, time to get stretching, and I'll see you out there. It's very windy out there today. I might have to change my hat. I'm not sure this one's going to stay on. It's so windy, so I do apologise if you can't hear me too well, but let's get straight into it. Price/value for money. So the cheapest one is Devane 770, the Acqua di Parma Sakura clone, which normally comes in at around £18 for 100ml. Then it's £25 for the Lost Cherry clone, the Essence Vault 444. And then the most expensive at £30 is Noted Aromas Jakarta, which is a clone of Tom Ford's Grey Vetiver. So which one do I think is the best value for money? Which one do I think is the best price? Normally I've been talking about scent quality here as being the determining factor of what's the best value for money. But as I've mentioned, they are all really good. They're really good, and I think it'd be very hard to separate them, particularly on those categories, particularly because Look, I'd probably say the one that maybe doesn't smell as good is a Sakura, but then it is a little bit cheaper, so I think it balances itself out. So then I think, what would I go for? What would I say is the best value then? How would I rank it instead? Well, I think one of the things we could certainly talk about is uniqueness. Look, Tom Ford Lost Cherry's been cloned a lot. Tom Ford Grey Vetiver's been cloned quite a bit as well. But the one that hasn't been is Acre de Parma Sakura, and there's probably a reason for that. Clone houses in general aren't going to clone fragrances that don't fly off the shelf from these main brands. Why would you clone a fragrance that isn't really that popular anyway? You're just not going to do it, are you? So I give them a lot of respect for doing this. Acre de Parma Sakura is not one of the big Acre de Parma scents. You know, you look at their Colonia line, that's their big selling point, and this is in its own line, and it certainly doesn't fit maybe the mould of something you would clone. So in that sense you can go brilliant. They've cloned quite a unique fragrance, and that'll give you a bit of uniqueness yourself, and it's so cheap, you know, it is super cheap for that price to have a unique scent. However, I also think I'd probably ask yourself, what fragrance is the hardest one to clone? Because that matters. And I've had Lost Cherry clones, my brother's had Lost Cherry clones in the past, and I found that the most difficult scents to clone are boozy scents and fruity scents. Boozy scents can be quite tough to pull off if you can't get that realistic whiskey accord, because obviously they don't add booze in these notes, they have to make accords, multiple notes to replicate that smell. And with this one, with that liqueur sort of note, a nice almond-nutty smell, but also the cherry here, this sour cherry, they've got it really right, because you can get some cheap ones here again. I've had some cheap fruity fragrances, and they can go into that barrel almost smelling like a room spray and not be very nice. And I think it's much easier to clone soapy scents and floral scents than it is those fruity, boozy scents and make it a high quality smell. So for that reason, I'm going to have to give, that wind, Lost Cherry wins this round. The Essex 444 onto versatility. Okay then, so on to versatility. Which one's the best to dress up, dress down, different ages, different occasions, different seasons, all those things? Well, when I initially was just thinking about this round a minute ago, I thought there was one obvious winner, and I was going to give it to Jakarta, the Tom Ford Grey Vetiver clone by Noted Aromas, because when you think about it, clean, soapy scents are probably the easiest to pull off in most situations, you know, dumb reach type scents. And they're just, you know, they're recognisable notes. Everyone knows those clean, washing smells. But this one's better than that. You know, this one's a little bit more grown up, more sophisticated, because it is a clone of a Tom Ford fragrance, which isn't cheap. So it's certainly not just a boring, soapy, clean vetiver. It's got a bit more maturity about that, a bit more sophistication, which means you certainly can dress it up as well. Even though I wouldn't say it's got those real dark, wintry notes, sweet notes like vanilla, leather, anything like that, that makes it the best choice for those occasions. However, I do think it, because it is that little bit better quality, a bit more serious, younger people here are going to really want it. And it's also not one of those scents where you think, oh, it's seductive, it's date night, it's anything like that. I think it's brilliant for an office situation. Again, a gentleman in his sort of early 30s, it definitely feels like that sort of man scent that works really well. If you want to smell quality, serious, well put together, that you've got everything in order, that's brilliant. But I don't think that's for a younger person or someone at entry level. Now, Sakura, I think, is very floral, and it definitely leans more feminine. The Acre de Parma scents are unisex, but my brother owned the original Sakura, and I think it does have that cherry blossom vibe. It's definitely more suited to a woman, and florals can be quite hard to pull off as well. But I do think this one, where it isn't overly strong, is actually okay for that. It can do those jobs. It's not going to be too cloying for yourself, but it's not going to cut through the cold either. But unfortunately, again, which is a boring one, I'm going to have to give the winner to Lost Cherry here. Look, boozy notes normally don't do that well, but the Essence Vault here has made it feel like such a good, you know, liqueur isn't as heavy, that's what I'm trying to say. Rum and whiskey, a very heavy wintry note, and that makes them quite masculine as well. This one you feel like Lost Cherry or the Essence Vault 444, you can certainly wear in the springtime, because it's not really heavy, but it's also got that fruitiness which makes it more suitable to those sort of, transition seasons. But the depth in it as well, where it is that boozy accord, that nutty accord, you can definitely wear this in the winter. It's got a bit more of a seductiveness about it, which, look, I think it's still a step up for a younger person who's not really tried fragrances, but it does have that mass appeal and that seductiveness about it. And being completely unisex, I think that just makes it worthwhile. Yeah, it's not a gym scent, it's not perfect for anything like that, but if you tone your sprays down, I always say you can wear any fragrance. It's all about what you like, and I certainly don't get sick of this one. So the SS 444 also wins on versatility. Right, we're going to go on to projection next. Which one am I noticing the most on my run? Okay then, so on to projection. Which one am I noticing the most during my run? Well, there's a clear winner with this one. I've smelt it about 6 times now, and I'm probably about 45 minutes in, so about halfway through. It's the Jakarta, it's the Noted Aromas Jakarta, the Grey Vetiver clone. Now, to be honest with you, Tom Ford Grey Vetiver isn't a weak fragrance anyway, but it's not really strong. This one is certainly stronger, and that might be because it's a little bit more aggressive. It's certainly a little bit more aggressive and maybe not as well rounded as the original. But for me, I don't mind that. Again, in the air, if someone's walking by, like I'm running now even, I'm not really smelling it up close. I'm not particularly getting that aggressiveness. All I'm really getting is a stronger projection, a really nice projection of a scent that smells a lot more expensive than $29.99. And it's just there, it creeps up on you, and it doesn't feel wrong for this sort of weather. Like, it's not very nice today, it's very windy, quite chilly, but again, it's one that if you catch it, it's great. It doesn't feel wrong for exercise. It's not too cloying again, because it hasn't got those real dark, boozy, sweet, spicy, leathery notes, and it's very pleasant. It's mainly a nice, clean vetiver, and it's easily won this round. I've smelt Lost Cherry or the SS 444 a few times, and to be honest with you, I've not smelt the Sakura one once. But again, it's not for these occasions, I'm doing it obviously on a workout, but of course they're all office, they're certainly office friendly, all of them, and they'll all do that really well. They'll all project enough in their own right in that. But if you want that real bit of extra protection, this one's the best one. This one's definitely the best one. I think maybe the SS 444, the Lost Cherry code, might fill a room more because it's got sweeter notes. But if someone's in your scent bubble, get Jakarta, because Noted Aromas have pulled this one off brilliantly. It is a great clone. Right, on to compliment factor. To compliment factor, which one of the 3 fragrances, the 3 clone fragrances, do I think is best for compliments? Well, I probably have to kind of just touch on the originals here, really, and my experience of compliments with the originals, and when I've got people, family, friends, just to smell the clones. Now, I've obviously spoken about the Lost Cherry compliment I had in the past, where one of the TAs at the school I was working at said, "Oh, it smells really nice over here." And my colleague, she said, "Oh, it's my cream I've rubbed into my leg, this like fruity cream." It was definitely Lost Cherry they were smelling. And I've obviously got my family to smell this clone, yes, it's 144, and they've all said, "Oh, this is really nice." My mum particularly said how much she likes it, and it definitely has got that little bit more mass appeal, as we touched upon earlier. It is a very unisex type fragrance, and Tom Ford puts it in their private blend. It's certainly more suited to those, statement occasions, but it's got that wearability. So it's not a heavy booze, you can't wear it, in office situations in the right, as long as you tone your sprays right to you and what you're doing, it's absolutely fine. Look, Grey Vetiver soapy clean. It probably doesn't have that wow factor in the same way for compliments, that it's really pleasant, really nice. But it is clean, and I think in some ways, I've said this before, I think just being clean and smelling clean and well put together is quite attractive in its own right, but it hasn't got that statement like, wow, you smell really attractive in that sense. It's just a very clean scent, and that makes you approachable, friendly, and it will give you those nice compliments in that sense. And for me, Sakura, I really like it, but florals can be a little bit hit and miss, and maybe in the case of this one, that's probably what you get. It's one that I really like, I really appreciate, but not everyone's going to love it, and it isn't the strongest. It's quite a weak scent, and I don't think my brother ever got a compliment on it. And when I've sprayed this fragrance, whether that's for work or even around the house, and I've asked people just to say what they think of it, it's never really got anything where people go, oh yeah, that's really good, that's really nice. So for that reason, I think there's a winner again, and it's just got to be that Lost Cherry one. It's just that extra statement that I think is going to tilt it over the edge to get those real good compliments. And I think when people are looking for compliments, they are looking to kind of make a statement. They're looking to maybe impress someone they like, or just give a good impression, whether that's in job interviews, anything like that. I think this one makes you the most memorable, and for that reason it's won this round as well, which means it's won 3 of the 4 rounds so far. 1 round to go. I said I was going to do longevity at the end of the run, but I think I already know which one's the winner here, so we'll touch on it now. The last round, longevity, I was going to leave it till later, but for me, just from my experience on this run, but also from when I've worn these trainers before, there is a clear winner, and it is the Noted Aromas Jakarta. The Grey Vetiver clone definitely wins this round. Look, maybe it's a little bit more expensive, and it is an eau de parfum, and I do think it's not really strong because it's overly synthetic. Look, I said earlier, it's a little bit more aggressive, and of course it's not going to be as good quality as the original Grey Vetiver by Tom Ford, but that doesn't mean this hasn't got quality about it. It's not synthetic in any real way, shape or form. It smells brilliant, and I think for that reason, you know, the fact they really do talk about the fact that they do use a certain amount of percentage of oil for the eau de parfum, you can really tell that quality difference. I think that justifies certainly that price tag that they give. But that they're all okay in their own right. They all, I would say, are as good, if not better, in terms of longevity than the actual original fragrances. And when you're only paying a fraction of that price, you know, all of these are well over £100, then I think that makes it definitely worthwhile, even if it's, like I said, little bit less quality in terms of its overall scent quality. But for the average person, you're not going to notice that unless you've had the original, or you're really smelling it up close. You're not going to tell much difference. You're really not, and that makes it absolutely great. I've worn this on my hoodie Jakarta and sprayed it on all my tops, and I haven't worn those hoodies for, like, say, 3 or 4 days. Put them back on, you can instantly smell it again, or sometimes it's hanging on the back of my door and you can smell it. So that one, I just know for a fact, has amazing force. But look, Lost Cherry will do the same. It will last a couple of days on hoodie. I've had that before as well, and you'll pick it up. If you don't, you know, just throw it on your skin, you throw it on your clothes, sometimes it really does stick on them. So just be aware, sometimes the oils are real good quality on these, and they can stain. So make sure if you are spraying it on any clothes for all of these, not so much the Devane Scent, it's not too bad. Just be aware they do stain a little bit with that oil, but dark clothing or any clothing you don't care about, spray it on there. Honestly, you won't need to put it in the wash then. There we are, winning 3 of the 5 rounds today, and that means it is the overall winner, the Essence Vault 444, the Lost Cherry Tom Ford clone. It's amazing. It is a really good clone. Look, I think all 3, I need to say that again, are brilliant. And I do kind of want to give a bit of a sort of mention to all those fragrance houses, those clone houses. There's millions out there. Armaf's another one, Latifer, you know, Arabic ones, Ardal Zafaran, Cuba Prestige Classic is a brilliant one, a clone of Thierry Mugler's Amen. There's some brilliant clone houses out there. And look, I'd probably say overall, if I could only pick one, it would be the Essence Vault. I know it's one today, just that fragrance on its own. But as an overall range, I think they do really well. Look, they've got good variety on there. Men, women, unisex type fragrances. The only thing I found with them sometimes is the performance on them can let them down. You know, I've got a clone of the original Turn Hermes from them. Performance on that isn't very good. And then I've also got one, the Essence Vault 341, which is a clone of Tom Ford's Oud Wood, and the performance on that is absolutely amazing. So you do get a bit of hit and miss on performance on those, but in terms of how similar the scent smells to the originals, the Essence will do really well. And I think £25 is great. You get bundles for about £45 as well. I think they're a no-brainer. I think they're really good. I'd say just maybe for that extra performance, Noted Aromas is the best. I do find them a little bit expensive. £30 for a clone I then start to think, well, do I prefer some fragrances in that £30 range that aren't clones, like a Bentley Fermented 10s and Mazzaro fragrances? So for me, that's the only thing that lets them down. But again, the quality of those, super high, really good, potentially better than the Essex Vault. And then I'd say Gervain's your best budget friendly one. But I've had a few hits and misses on quality of those, but they do some really unique scents. I don't know any other house that clones Baronda by Nasomato. They do that. They clone some really, different scents you don't expect. And I like that about them. But sometimes they do smell a little bit different from what the original is. And it does smell a little bit cheaper, but they are cheaper. And sometimes you can get, it's windy. Sometimes you can get scents on there for about £12. And they are more than worth it for 100ml. They are certainly well up there. And that's for all of them. They tend to just sell for all of them, not just individual fragrances. But now it's over to you, really. Which ones do you recommend for me? Which fragrance houses should I look at a bit more, particularly clone ones, but also just houses you like in general? This year I want to try an Issey Miyake fragrance. I've never had one of those, and I do want to try some different brands. I always stick to my favourites like Acqua di Parma normally. Maybe it's time to branch out a bit more, so comment below. Tell me your sort of favourite clone houses, but also some of your favourite brands in general, and maybe this year we will try a few more. But yeah, that is this workout done. Sorry, I'm losing my breath for this wind, but I hope you've enjoyed this one. I hope you can hear me, more importantly, and I'll make sure the volume's not too high on this video overall. Thanks for watching today. Catch you later.